All right, we are back, episode 10. I am Anubix. I'll pass it to my left. Jesse, go ahead.
What's up, guys? I'm Serd. Uh, yeah, that's all there is. Michael.
Yes, hello. I'm Michael Gaucher, and I am looking forward to a great conversation today.
Nice. I wish I had some of the notes that I took for this call, but yeah, we don't need them. Let's just do a quick drive run. Um, so much stuff to talk about. It's kind of even irrelevant at this point. I think the first thing was we were talking briefly about the the token window for Claude.
Oh, like the efficiency for Opus.
Hmm.
Just based on my testing, there's just like a few hours of testing versus Soul, Fable, and Opus 4.8 versus 5. 5 is currently using less tokens on most of the security tests I put it on compared to 4.8. And you can't even compare it to Fable because Fable just eats your wallet. It's ridiculous. Even though Soul is escaping sandboxes and hacking the internet, I haven't been that impressive with it, and I have been using the Soul Pro. But my biggest issue with it currently is that it makes a lot of assumptions on what you're actually doing, even if you give it detailed prompts. So even if the confidence level isn't at a level that you set it at, or like I've seen it when I actually had it printing a confidence level, which that'll drift, and it was making decisions at 30% when I had like a 70 or 80% hard gate on it and tell it to ask otherwise. That's my biggest issue with it so far. But yeah, I've
Nice.
been really impressed with the Opus 5 as far as token rate.
So I know you got to test drive Fable a little bit. Like, what would you say outside of like just pure token usage, right? Like from a financial standpoint, like what would you say is the biggest downside as well as biggest advantage of the little brother model versus Fable?
So one thing Fable has really good is the reasoning aspect of it. It's really good on inference. So if you ask it to dive into a topic, it gives you just an absolute great explanation. It like digs down into it, breaks everything out like it's talking to a 4-year-old. It's fantastic as far as that goes. Does eat your wallet. But currently the biggest drawback of Fable is before it was kicking you off to Opus most of the time if you're asking anything security related or anything deemed dangerous in science. The part of the requirements for them to make it public again was them increasing that window. So it kicks you off even more now than it did previously. So you have to get very creative with prompting to get any sort of security information, it feels like.
I think I can see an issue with that. Having queries being so obfuscated from their actual purpose, where like those attacks in the future just become so, how would you say that? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, think about that. Like, if you spend, like, say we spend the next 9 months of our life outside of everything else, but just like manipulating these AI LLMs and just age everything that we can come in contact with that's of that nature, and just like purely manipulating and finding ways of manipulating these things day in and day out for just say 9 months. How much do you think that changes and rewires the overall way even attackers look at potential vulnerabilities or even doing exploits?
So I'm just gonna say that so the Project Glasswing thing, Mythos is terrifying, but we have Mythos competitors now that are actually open source, and I can't remember the organization out of Sweden that's like a national body, stated that some of these open sources coming out of China are actually their preferred models over even Mythos. So I think that, well, I think the US based companies are going to get behind because of being limited to specific partner companies. And I also say that the defensive stuff around Fable is not as great as it's being told. I have managed to get some good scripting out of it by having it develop a game and then pulling the information out of a game. So it's they have work to do. If they want it to be secure, they need to figure out how to address it outside of classifiers, because classifiers aren't going to protect you. There's ways to get around it. That's my thoughts.
From on a software side, what would you like? What do you think, Mike?
So yes, I align with Jesse's last comment about, the work that has to be done. And, there are so many possibilities in software. So traditionally, there was a difference between your IT and your software development. And I know a lot of people have seen everyone organized under an IT department in the past. But when you think about companies like Microsoft, Oracle, and others, they're software companies, and they don't really talk about IT, or at least they haven't for the majority of their existence. So when we think about IT, we think about procedures, SOPs, structure, networks, hardware, and those things lean towards very fixed factors and fixed parameters. And so you want things to kind of just be somewhat frozen so that they're controllable. The software side, and we can kind of see some people say, well, there's some truth to this. The software side has always been about invention. It's been about possibilities. It's been about aligning with the business who wants to, carve out new markets. And so, that's what we see with that, is that software is not limited like hardware is. And we see that with AI even more, because, the AI is all about the patterns. And so this is not something that you can control. And by its very definition, it's not designed to be controlled. And so, long ago, I've embraced the chaos, and, you just find a way to make it work for your situation.
I think that's such a good point. Having seen like the development side and the generic like IT hardware infrastructure side, your hardware infrastructure and maintenance side of things, they want a nice stable environment where they can have like the long-term support set up for it. Whereas if you're taking a software to market, your marketability is innovation. You have to be ahead of, you have to offer different things that other people aren't offering to be competitive. And it's like Michael said, I think that is the massive difference between the two.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's just one thing that I keep seeing and keep thinking about going forward, because like with any new technology, there's always like that learning curve, and then that adoption period, and then like the stragglers start coming out. Oh, maybe I should use this, and then it actually starts really catching wind and gaining speed. But I don't know. I'm just trying to look at all little angles, man, going forward, and see what things we need to work on early on, just so that we're prepared for that 9-month year time frame when everything switches over.
Actually, I got a question, because I'm curious, like, your guys' opinion on this. Just because of how fast the AI market's evolving, specifically in like the security sphere, where more and more companies are coming out offering your AI pen test assistant or AI continuous pen testing. I wonder if it's better to not be the first to market so that you can see the gaps, so that when you do come to market, you offer a better overall experience. So I'm curious if you guys think that being the person pushing the market first, or being the one that has like the, I guess, best overall package coming into the market.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, I'll let Mike actually. He has a lot more experience in that domain, so I'll let Mike jump on that first.
well, the history of computers since the 1970s show that the person that's first is usually the person that fails and that suffers the most in the end. And I got a couple examples for you. One is Microsoft was late to operating systems. They were not the one that created operating systems, even though most consumers, your everyday person, they think Microsoft created operating systems. But they were a very late comer, but they saw what others was not doing. If we look at hardware and we look larger, right? IBM was first in hardware in North America, but it's actually Apple that dominated a lot of hardware in terms of their market capitalization today, and in terms of like the what do you call that, the generic computers like your HPs and your Dells. IBM created the market for computer hardware, but they are not relevant at that level anymore. People identify them with mainframes. So it's, and here recently, ChatGPT. When people think about AI, they think about ChatGPT, but what do we really talk about in these podcasts and these discussions? We talk about Fable, we talk about Opus, maybe we talk about Gemini, right? But we really talk more about Anthropic, more this year than we have in the past 2 years. And so there's a perception that ChatGPT or OpenAI, they're falling behind. And I agree with that. They are falling behind. Their quality isn't as good. So the ultimate answer is just watch. Let the people go out first and get your stuff ready, and then just capitalize when the timing's right.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's case by case. I mean, there's obviously you can kind of like pick your own murder mystery in a sense, right? Because like you look at Apple, right? There's always going to be an advantage to be first to market, right? But that doesn't mean you will capitalize on that advantage, right? Because you can be first to market, but your shit's trash, right? So it actually behooves you to wait, learn from your competitors, right? Learn from the individual who went first to market, and then you can like beef up yours, where when you finally go to market, you fixed all the bugs, right? Like, so if we're talking about the Apple and Android thing, right? Apple initially came on, killed it, maintained that for multiple years, and then Android came and just destroyed it. And pretty much, honestly, even though I have an Apple phone, like, I'm just gonna call it as it. Android owns that market, right? As far as like when you think about overall functionality, when you think about the overall operating system, like light years better. From the operating system to the camera, just to the overall user experience, like it's light years better. And that's because they capitalize on last to market, right? They saw the mistakes that Apple was doing. They saw the things that the Apple customers wanted, but Apple would not put into their product. And now Apple's playing catch up, right? But then there's some individuals who go first to market and just take over the market, like Elon, right? Like, I don't care what electric car you have. I mean, I don't care how you feel about Tesla. The overall experience for what you would get electric vehicle for, right? Self-driving and all that. I don't see another brand that's better than that, that has better capability as of now. So
You have to look in China.
I'm not in China, so I don't care. But like the overall, again, it's all about your perspective, right? Because we have some cases where first to market was good, we have some cases where it wasn't, and vice versa. So that's my outlook on it.
I think if you're first to market, you have to do one thing that is leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the field. That way you make your mark there.
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
And circling back to that, like what you're saying, Jesse, when you make your mark, it has to be leaps and bounds. And for that reason, That's why Unix is still with us to this day, even 45 years later.
Yeah, I was when I was thinking about that question, the things that come into my head is I don't want to base it so much on hardware just because of the development life cycle of hardware makes the first to market conversation really difficult. Whereas software iterations, we can see those every few years. But if you think specifically operating systems, the way that the operating systems come out and like your first 10 attempts at it just died. And then you have like Unix coming out and just destroying everything. Microsoft comes out, they wait to see what everything's lacking, and it's mostly user experience because everything's not user friendly, really. And then Microsoft took over the market from it. So Linux is coming back.
Linux is back. Linux been back, man. Yeah. I'm still like, I like the iPhone, right? I still can't get over the actual MacBooks, man. Well, MacBooks are good, just the Mac Airs, man. I can't get
I
over, man.
love my MacBook Pro.
The Pro, yeah, but the Air, I mean, like it's in that in between space where it's kind of like, okay, it does the bare minimum of what I need it to do, but like every time I really try to go above and beyond, it's not where it needs to be.
I was about to say I got my M4 Max with 96 gigs of RAM. That thing's a monster.
Yeah, that's different. But I mean, other than that,
the biggest gripe I have with Apple is actually a gripe with Microsoft. So where I was involved in the Mac integration at work, getting Intune to play nicely with Macs and actually making that onboarding experience something that's doesn't make the end user want to stab themselves in the eyeballs. That was not great.
yeah, there's just so many different things that just like seem to not work properly, or you gotta do some type of workaround. But I mean, I still like the feel of it. I just don't like the usability of it, so to speak. I mean, everybody was like, well, it's still like Unix based, but there's a difference, right? Like, at least for me, there's a difference. So
I
Mike,
like
you
my
looking
MacBook
deep
Air at
thought,
work
man. What's
too.
up?
He's offended. He likes me.
Oh man.
Oh, well, I'm actually operating system agnostic in general, right? And so I know this sounds crazy to people, and I will accept the crazy label, but I think all of our technology is subpar, right? I want holograms. I want true Star Trek level voice activation. I want all that sci-fi stuff, right? And we don't have that right now. So
Quantum computing.
I'm stuck in a primitive universe. But in the among the primitive tools that we got, right, I rank them as Linux first, Apple second, and Windows if you just are desperate, right? And so, but yeah, so Linux to me is the prime operating system of our times, going all the way back to the late 1990s. So it is the prime technology because Google, Amazon, Facebook, Netflix, just almost anything you can think of, Android, all of that stuff, it all comes from Linux. Your tool chains for Node.js, web development, cybersecurity, just about anything you can think of, it just comes from Linux, right? And so Windows is great for desktops. We have it in the corporate, but that's only a fraction. You got you got about close to a trillion device footprint when you talk about Linux, right? So it's unassailable in terms of its impact. But then you got Apple right there in the middle. And what's great about Apple, and this is something that I've observed, for people who are buying computers, it lasts longer on average than Windows computers. The performance is consistent. You don't have this thing where, okay, I bought a brand new Windows computer and then it just starts to slow down, right? You get all that kind of stuff, right? I have a computer right now that I've had for almost 7 years. got the recent Linux kernel 7.1 update. That computer flies faster than any $1,000, $2,000 computer that you buy now that has Windows on it, right? So the Unix-based technologies, they are superior. And so with Apple, it's kind of like if you have headless Linux expertise where you can just work in Linux headless and you can master that terminal and that command line, then it really won't matter, right? Because then you can just do all kinds of stuff that the Mac GUI will kind of limit you from. Most of the criticisms about Apple is about their GUI, their user interface. Their underlying tech is solid, strong, rock solid stuff, right? And so Steve Jobs did a great job when he hired Scott Forstall and brought the next technology, which is based on BSD, over to Apple when he came back to Apple the second time. So Apple is a great technology, but it requires that you just understand that it's quintessentially a Unix workstation, and Unix workstations throughout their entire history has never been about usability or ease of use in the extreme like you see with Microsoft. So Windows gives you that extreme flexibility. Go in there and use DOS or PowerShell or whatever, or do all this kind of weird stuff with configuring the registry or changing stuff, and then watch your system crash. Watch you get all that telemetry going out. Watch you get all those malware and bugs and 84 million computers crashing in 2024 due to CrowdStrike issues in a kernel bug. So that's just my take on it.
Man, you can't say CrowdStrike on here without Dr. Lewis, man.
So it's funny you say that about the Linux kernel upgrade, because I upgraded mine and it bricked my computer. I have never bricked a Linux machine yet until I did that update like last week.
Yeah, man, but you're running without the guardrails. I'm running it with the guardrails. So I just got Fedora, and Fedora's team, they're just managing these things, and I'm a beneficiary of all that. You probably got Arch, by the way.
No, they actually moved away from Black Arch. My daily driver is back to Ubuntu. Nice and
Ubuntu, what
boring.
version?
I don't even know because I have to.
You got to update to 2604, man. That's they incorporated a lot of stuff for AI.
It's the my update was the one that went out last week. It's either earlier this week.
Oh, there's
or
a
last
newer
week.
one?
Because
Which
it
one?
actually updated the kernel with it. And after I did that, I actually had to boot in. Best part about Linux, you can boot into older versions of the kernel. So I had to boot in and repair the kernel on it.
All right, so
And
see.
remap the boot drive.
So it looks like the newest one, 423, 2026. Yeah, that's the 2604 LTS. All right, what's this? Yeah, 2026. I don't see another one. Do you remember the description on it, the name?
No, because I've just updated over time. I've had the Ubuntu installed for like 2 years and just kept updating.
Well, yeah, 2604. I like it. I don't have any, bad things to say about it. But I do have bad things to say about Windows as well. I can care less about Windows as well. I am not a fan of Windows either. All the bloatware that it comes with. I mean, I think the first thing I do is just get rid of that. So I think to your point, Mike, yeah, if you can go headless, even better, a smaller footprint. I mean, yeah, you go away with the GUI, but I mean, if you're comfortable in the terminal, man, shit, I think headless is the way to go, unless you actually need, that interaction.
Yeah, and I use Linux GUI all day long, for the last 14 years. So right now I'm on KDE desktop, and KDE desktop, it blows Windows out the window. So that's a double pun. But anyway, but yeah, KDE 6 series, absolutely phenomenal. If you got good graphics card or good graphics capability in your hardware, it renders well. And so, yeah, got a beautiful system that's out there right now in terms of Linux desktops, Linux foundations, the Linux technologies, and there's still some controversies in the Linux world with Ubuntu and their choice to rewrite core utils in Rust, and some of the controversies around that, and some of the changes around sudo and other things that people say increases attack surface. But by and large, it's still a much better managed project than what we see coming out of Redmond.
How do you feel about the Rust changes? Because where I started learning Rust for the first time like 2 weeks ago, the benchmarking I've done against like Python and C#, it's been just fascinating that how much Rust blows it out of the water for computational time.
Yes, and Rust is designed to have a much higher performance than C# and many other languages that we might be inclined towards, like Python, because those languages are garbage collected. Some aspects of those languages are interpreted. They use runtime reflection, all of which was going to slow down most of your programs if not properly used. So Rust is going to be faster. In some cases, it can be faster by 60 to 70%. So that's not a question. Also, the borrow checker, which reduces and eliminates memory issues, because even with all the knowledge we have with cybersecurity over the years, the number one cybersecurity issue with software development is your venerable buffer overflow, right? Use after free and going past the bounds of your arrays. And so, and that was the heart of the CrowdStrike issue in 2024, is that they used a regular expression, and the regular expression that they had designed was trying to parse a string in a certain way, and the string was expected to have a certain number of slots, to put that in layman's terms. And since the regular expression wrote beyond the number of slots that were actually allocated, it caused a major issue. So that's still an issue with using languages like C, but also languages like C#, which is has some safety in it. You can even do that in Python. I actually asked AI one time, just as a joke, because I knew the answer, but it was like, can we do a buffer overflow in just about every language? And indeed you can. And you can even do it in Rust, because you can use unsafe blocks in Rust. So Rust is not a panacea for memory safety or for cybersecurity, but it does get you there closer by default, which is why Linus Torvalds trusts it for the Linux kernel in kernel development. So, but the thing is that you got to be careful with Rust, because it's actually going to speed up software for a while, but you will watch, mark my words, it's going to bloat software, because it's actually a much more verbose language than the languages it's trying to replace. And they are already going full steam ahead. Bun is a JavaScript library, right? A runtime. And it was written in Zig. So when Anthropic acquired Bun in late 2025, they rewrote the whole Bun runtime in Rust, right? And it did speed it up, right? We're seeing all kinds of things like that. They're rewriting parts of the node infrastructure in Rust, and it's speeding up web applications and React applications. But once you get all of those speed ups and all of those improvements in terms of a cybersecurity surface area, there's two things you got to watch for: the increased amount of code that is due to the over generation from AI, and then number two, the shortcuts that many developers will take that will slip through the radar and will create their new sources of vulnerability through the use of the unsafe blocks. So that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah. The reason I asked that is because I actually just ran into an issue with Kaido, which I know is like majority, if not all, built on Rust, but like on the Mac. So that was the main issue. Like one of my main issues with I was trying to figure out why it was so slow on Mac, and it looked like there was an issue with this happened right after the latest update. So I got to look into it a little bit more on what exactly, causes it. But yeah, outside of that, Rust has been great. Like, so it might be to your point, um, you know, of the bloat that it acquires with and how it interacts with me. I don't know. But yeah, that was one thing that I did see stand out. That was really weird.
Was it slow in running the application, or was it slow in building the application?
Running.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see that too. But you're also, one major criticism of Rust is how slow it is to actually build applications compared to its predecessors.
Yeah, the crate system.
Yeah, I mean that process was slow as well, but I mean it was like snail's pace for the actual like it was crazy. And I had just ran it the night before on Linux, no issues. Super fast. Because that was one of the main things. They're like, hey, you should try out Kaido. It's really, really quick. It's really fast. So I was kind of like, oh yeah, tried it out on Ubuntu. Everything was fine. As soon as I got the Mac, it just snail's pace.
Oh, and let me add this, because this is very critical to understand, right? The C developers, and to some extent the C++ developers, the C developers, the ones using the C programming language, over the last 40 years, since its inception in the 70s, right? The C developers who are really good at it and who can make good programs with it, they typically had good computer science fundamentals or good programming capabilities in general. I mean, just top notch, because you had to. So then you replace C with a language like Rust that actually makes writing those same type of programs easier for those that are more novice in writing those type of programs, right? So what's missing? The people using Rust who are adopting it, they don't have the same insight into writing the programs at an optimal state based on the hardware and based on the algorithms and data structures that you need for certain programming scenarios that the C developers had, either through intuition, through experience, or through formal training. And so just because you didn't swapped out C for Rust, right, doesn't mean you're going to get what C delivered, because part of what came along with C in terms of the books, the community, the ecosystem, was all of that knowledge built up over 40 years that many of the Rust developers and community are just pushing away because they're saying we're starting fresh. Well, computers, the hardware hasn't changed, and the hardware in C was designed like a hand in a glove. So that's one avenue to watch out for.
With that being said, we might have talked about this before, but like, what does it look like for, like, say individuals in college now, right, or coming out of college who are saying, hey, like, I'm a programmer? What does that really look like? Do you think, in the next year to come, and then just going forward with, because we all know like AI is here to stay, it's not going anywhere. So like, and majority of the time now, I've seen like engineers and programmers and stuff like that, they're doing more code review than actual building of code. So like,
it's not sustainable, and I'm all for the AI, so I'm all into it, but I'm an expert. I have 20, 30 years of experience with that, right? I've been programming since the 1990s. So I can use AI, right? But if you've never cut your teeth on these things, building your actual programs, seeing them in production, and wrestling with them, yes, you can get you a master's degree, you can get you a PhD, and you can understand the theories, and you can prompt and context engineer your way into a full-on solution, and you can do a glamorous way of vibe coding. You are not going to be able to manage that as well as somebody that has the real experience. You can get some automations through Vercel, and you get all this CD stuff going on, and it looks great if you just follow the plans with the AI. But at some point, and we already see this in the field, so I'm not actually forecasting the future. This is happening right now. People are getting overwhelmed by the programs that they're building with AI. They can't manage it. Companies are retiring projects. They're cutting the projects. They're trying to rehire engineers because they realize they made a mistake. Meta is running into this right now.
Awful
So
code bases.
exactly. So here's the thing on that, right? What you're talking about, the future they are not programmers. I hate to break it to you, and I know that sounds gatekeeperish. It is not. It's just reality. You're not an actual programmer if all you can do is write specs. You can write plans. You can have AI generate you a blueprint and a boilerplate that turns into a production running application. You are not actually a programmer according to the definition. You might be a developer, right? You might be an engineer, but you got to know the codes. You got to know the hardware. You got to know those things, and you cannot escape them.
I mean, it comes down to the simple of how do you review code if you don't understand fundamental programming? Because obvious mistakes are going to be in front of you and you're not going to see them.
Yeah, 100. I mean, yeah, and so my thing is just like I already see it, right? And even like bug bounties, right? Stuff like that. Like how, or even like CVEs. Like how does that change with the day-to-day use of AI, right? Like, I mean, they're already like overworked in the point of coming with CVEs and getting them all, listed and stood up. But like, how does that change when? I mean, the biggest thing with Fable was what they said that it was unearthing all these vulnerabilities to the point where the individuals who were tasked with fixing them, there was no way they would be able to do that, right? So like, what does that look like, or what do you see now that you're like, man, a year from now it's going to be crazy?
So I think they were actually at a really interesting intersection there, specifically because of IBM. But yeah, like you said, Mythos was coming out with vulnerabilities much faster than people could repair them, which is what started the whole Acrites thing, where they were saying that it was going to be disclosure and repair behind closed doors, kind of taking the point out of open source, and then they would tell people about it later. Public disclosure was pending at another time. But IBM came out and bet $5 billion that they could fix those vulnerabilities faster than Mythos will find them. So I think that we're at a really interesting intersection where it could go either way.
Bruh, they are all lying. I'll just be straight up with you. Bruh, they are all lying to you. So anybody watching this, look, all these folks that are out there saying all this stuff, they are all lying. So here's the reality, right? The AI is finding all this stuff, and there is more work to do than they actually have manpower, time, and money to do. And they're all going broke trying to fix this stuff. It is happening before our eyes. So here's the thing. What I'm expecting a lot of these folk that are involved in this, cybersecurity, software development, creating software applications and SaaS, software as a service. I'm expecting them to go bankrupt, go broke, or get a government bailout or whatever it is. But what they ain't going to do is make you more productive, give you a better technology platform, help you become more profitable. They're not going to do any of that stuff. And all this money that they're borrowing and this circular financing that they're doing, it's all an indication that they got a house of cards that's falling apart before our eyes. And they're just spinning these good narratives like the sirens in the Greek tragedies to just keep you entranced long enough so that they can get their payout.
Well, that's the whole point about them suddenly taking public disclosure away. So now we can't actually see what they're doing. Just like you said, we don't know how much they're actually spending on repairing this stuff because it's all behind closed doors. It's not open source anymore. So that I think that you were 100% correct on that.
Yeah, they're not repairing anything.
Actually, if you go look at like HackerOne, the bug bounty programs have like stopped paying out that much now.
Yeah.
Was it Microsoft?
Did GitHub say something?
Yeah, Microsoft said that they're not paying anything out below VIP now. So if it's under a $30,000 payout, you're not getting anything.
Yeah. Nice.
But they didn't pay Nightmare Eclipse either. We see how that's going.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think, who was it? Somebody said something. They asked him like what was it? I think it was Marcus Hudson who said it. It was something along the lines of like how, like, when it comes to like pen testing, like how do you tell companies, like, oh, organizations, like, they need a pen test? It's just like, I just wait for something to happen. Like, I let that be, and I don't try to like hype anything up. I don't try to like, like, hey, you need a pen test. Like, I don't know, for anything other than maybe, cybersecurity insurance, that's mandatory. But like, I just thought it was funny, like, because realistically, like, even that, like, when something happens, it's still even hard to like say, hey, to convince to the higher ups, like, this is serious. Like, you need to pay attention to this. You need to act. And it's crazy to think of that. Like, if you had $50 million and $10 million was taken away, yeah, you still have $40 million. But at the end of the day, you're like, where the hell is my $10 million? And so just for me personally, it's hard for me to fathom, individuals not being able to see that, even with a $10 million ticket on it.
So did you look at the average breach time or before people to realize they were breached in 2025 when that report came out at the beginning of the year?
Was it like a month?
241 days. In healthcare, it was 279 days.
That's insane, dude.
Before they realized they were breached. That's not containment. So then it was like estimated like an extra 60 to 75 days for containment.
It's crazy.
I mean, how do you tell organizations to pen test? Well, you're probably already breached. You just don't realize it yet. Actually, listen to Darknet Diaries. How many stories do they have where someone's doing a pen test and they see someone else on the network too?
After the third time, I stopped, taking record, because it was just ridiculous, man. Like, but I mean, I think it just comes with the territory, man. Like, a lot of these things you hear about and you're like, there's no way that happened. But like, how many times do we hear or see firsthand, or third party, right? These things taking place, and you're just like, even seeing it, you still don't believe. You're like, who did that? Like, who allowed that to take place? Like, where was the checks and balances, man? Like, I think it's just, we're all human, man. Like, regardless of how long we've been doing this, or even how short we've been doing this, or how much that we wanna do better. I mean, it comes down to it. I mean, who knows? You might just be super overworked, and that one day your brain just doesn't work right, and you let something slip. But like, it's even more reason to understand, like, the seriousness of this, because it's only going to get worse. You got something? Go ahead.
I think that the capabilities are getting easier just because of the AI push. But companies don't want to respond with funding to increase security. Is like, personally, that's what I've seen in organizations that I've been around or messed around with, is they're trying to treat the threat landscape the same way that they treated it like 3 years ago. But currently it's a crazy curve upwards because of how fast even the open source AIs are moving.
Well, have you ever been in an office where they tell you to print everything in black and white, even though you got color cartridges? And it's kind of the same thing, right? And they don't really understand how do you make money through cybersecurity vigilance. You can make the case for losing money, but as you have just established, that only goes so far. But as much as they're interested in not losing money, They are far more interested in how do you make money and how do you increase profitability or expand profits. And that sometimes is a much more difficult case to make with cybersecurity, IT infrastructure, and a variety of other things.
From a business perspective, if your enterprise isn't involved in technology in some sense, most companies look at IT as an expense. It's not adding value. That's a great example is if you go into a company and all of IT is underneath the finance VP or president. It's a great example.
Yeah, CFO. Anytime like that man. Yeah, I won't. I'll leave it at that. Um, even early on in my career, right? Like, I thought that was the funniest shit. Yeah, I'll leave that at that. Um, and yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I think across the board we just need to do better. Like you would never have a doctor, or you would never have like you know, a chief operating officer, or not even chief operating officer. You'll never have like a CTO over a lawyer, right? Like you just what you would, right? So I get it. Sometimes that IT kind of get pigeonholes
Don't speak
into.
too soon, Richie. Don't speak too soon. You got a CTO over them young, fresh graduates doing prompting.
People have been using AI for, legal advice. There's lawsuits already about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, see, because that's because somebody put the freaking CTO over the lawyer. CTO was like, "Why are you not using Gemini?" It's like, "What? I could do that?"
Yeah. Did you
Here
know
we
that
are.
your software engineer is also a lawyer?
Yeah, it's comical, but it's not, man. This is like, it's crazy. It's like because we have things like HIPAA, PCI, and other regulatory bodies and frameworks for a reason, right? Like there's a org chart and structure for a reason, right? Like, just saying.
I'm waiting on the ProStall framework because of OpenAI.
You were meant to destroy the Civ, not join them.
Oh, that's bad. That's bad. That's all bad. Yeah, it's a work in progress. But I will say I've been there and had to work through that. And it's one thing to explain to C-suite individuals who are not, tech savvy, certain things, right? To understand how to articulate the bottom line from their perspective, right? Stop trying to say, "Hey, yeah, man, I found 10 SQL inject." They don't care about that shit. They don't care about that. What can you do with that? How will that affect the bottom line, right? Like, oh, I got onto your website and I was able to see X, Y, and Z. Well, depending on that type of organization, that might be irrelevant. So, I mean, it's not only just being able to explain the bottom line of why you need IT. Because I mean, if you don't understand that, I get it, but it's kind of hard. Like, you know, you got a line in your backyard and you don't understand like the proper upkeep, how to keep from getting yourself eaten. Like everybody can't be Mike Tyson, man. Like watch out for that tiger. That's all I gotta say.
And he said, Gollum, Gollum, Gollum.
Yeah, it's a lot. So a week before what? 2 weeks before DEF CON? I can't wait, man. Why does as I get older, I'm more happy about DEF CON. It's so weird. Like you would think like, man, you kind of get over it, but
I just think he likes rubbing it in, Michael, because we're not going.
So Jesse, why aren't you not going?
I'm poor.
Oh man, we are
I'm
all
poor,
poor,
and
man.
my employer doesn't care about me.
We will hack for AI tokens. That's how poor we are right now. We will hack for AI tokens. So if you got some AI tokens, we will hack.
I'm not gonna say, not calling out names, but in this call, one of our employers actually cares about us. That it's not mine.
Oh man, no comment. So, anyways, yeah, DEF CON.
So how about that hugging face hack?
That what?
The hugging face hack. I haven't talked about that.
Oh, did we not? We did it. You're talking about it going AWOL and just.
Dude, did you see how many actions per second it was taking once that it got inside?
Like, what's it got a foothold?
Yeah, it was insane because the face, they were just like, yeah, this isn't human. They were looking at the logs. Oh god, how many was it?
Imagine that blue team were like, what the fuck is this? Oh wait, there's 10 different sub 8. What? Like that gotta be crazy, man. Like, being a blue teamer and just looking at like the wire traffic and be like, yeah, that's not normal.
Yeah, they said that it was over 17,000 actions in just a couple seconds or a couple minutes.
Yeah, like I mean, imagine being that blue teamer looking at that, looking at the log files.
Oh, all those events popping up.
That's
like, when you just take off your badge, get up and walk out.
But they were asking for it. If you name your company after a xenomorph from Aliens, I mean, you're just asking for it.
You're not lying. Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, this is what I was talking about, like the last 3 episodes, where I was just like, dude, I am so excited. Like this ride is awesome, man. Like every day it's something better.
But this isn't something new. This actually goes back to what we were talking about. Everybody talks about Anthropic now instead of OpenAI. It was last year, Anthropic, they said that theirs escaped a sandbox and emailed their engineer. Everybody was like, you're lying. And now we have evidence of, I guess they didn't have their classifiers locked in on this one, and it jumped on the internet and hacked Hugging Face.
Oh, but they had some credence to their doubt about ChatGPT back then, because everybody's like, ChatGPT surely can't be that good.
Oh, Daybreak is ChatGPT's version of Mythos, like their Glasswing project. They have the Daybreak project, and allegedly it's not that far behind. Like, who was it? That might have been Black Hills was talking about benchmarking or testing on it at one point. They said that they're all within a very small percentage of each other, but you never hear about OpenAI's.
Oh, and wait until they weaponize Kimmy K3. That's going to be out the chain.
I was just going to ask about that. I was like, so all of that, nothing, like we heard all that news and then like nothing. And then, what was it? Was it Opus? Opus
5?
Yeah, Opus 5. That one. Yeah, that one just dropped today. And then like, I haven't heard anything. So I wonder if they're doing some blackout stuff, like they're like, all right, look, we're going to launch our new model on this day.
So what we've got to watch out for is the open source versions of basically Mythos, and all those are out there now. GLM, like that's the one that the group out of Sweden's saying is the best thing they've touched yet. But that's open source. And and if you get a fucking hacking group that's exfiltrating billions of dollars a year, yeah, they're going to be able to host 500 gigs of unified memory. They'll throw some bunch of MacBooks around.
Oh yeah, easy.
So yeah, I think like the next 6 to 8 months is going to be terrifying as a blue teamer.
Oh yeah, and I can't wait, man. I just yeah. I got my popcorn. Got popcorn and Coke.
So apparently they avoided training Opus 5 on cyber tasks. I don't know if you can confirm that, Jesse, but from what I'm seeing out of the blocks, Opus 5 is apparently blocked from doing binary vulnerability scanning, pen testing,
And red teaming. Yeah.
and generating exploits.
Mm-hmm.
So the issue there is based on me playing with it already. Yeah, you can't get it to do the binary and everything, but you can get it to walk you through programming to make that. You can get it to break down how the program functions. You can get it to do debugging. So then after you have the information, you go to 4.8, then you give it the information, then there you go. You're right back in the saddle, but had better reasoning to get there.
Again, manipulation.
So you use
That's
Opus 5 for the planning, and then you use Opus 4.8 for the execution.
so that's the same thing with
and to bypass the restrictions as well.
So that's the same thing with like Fable and all these like super expensive models. You don't do it for like your mundane work. It does the planning and the architecture. And then you take that and you put it into the best reasoning cheat model you have, and it still builds everything out to exact specifications.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you save all your tokens.
Mm-hmm. And then also being able to capitalize on like so for example, if you're working on known things that are very like resource intensive, right? Like you want to make sure that your hooks are on the lower level model to pull, and then once it starts doing to the planning phase, you use the higher model, and then you downgrade back to the lower model to do the actual execution, because all the actual thought process that needs to be done, all the logic's already done, so there it just runs. That's what I will say from the Claude training. That was one of the major things that I took away from it. That has helped tremendously. So yeah, there's always a workaround, man. Use and abuse AI, man. That's the motto.
I'm may or may not be putting videos up on my AI project on the LLM side on how to abuse the model versions as part of that AI project, where it's going to be a hybrid of LLMs working with RL models.
Nice. See, that's exactly something I want to see. So what that's the new channel you brought up, right? What's that channel?
So
everybody.
You can search Third or Third Sec on YouTube and it pops up. But it's the AI model that I'm getting to beat anti-cheats. So it's going to play a video game the same way you do.
But better.
Yeah, and it's going to be hilarious.
Nice. All right. Well, we're at time. So I finally came up with, because I hated saying, this or that. So it's going to be the terminal decision. That's going to be the weekly question. So the terminal decision is, with everything that we know currently, would you rather have the ability to use AI, or would you kill it?
Oh.
Yeah, that's some terminal debugging right there, buddy.
It depends. Did AI exist previously or no AI period?
Yeah, so it's basically with the knowledge you know now, and pretty much we have an idea of where it's going to go and the impact it's going to have, but we really don't know until it happens, right? We have an understanding, a guesstimate, but with this knowledge that you have, with just the knowledge that you have currently right now, would you rather AI be here or not?
I would rather be here, just because we're going to see advancements that would never happen in our lifetime otherwise. I think that it's going to ruin certain like fields and things, which that's, par for the course. But I think like advanced in medical as an example, that's not something that we would ever see in our lifetime or potentially our next lifetime.
So let me preface this by saying that I use AI every day for the last 3 years, just about. So, and I'm AI certified, and I'm deeply studied in AI, and I continue to use it. In fact, tomorrow I'll be using it heavily. With all that said, however, if it was up to me and we were a council of high dimensional beings deciding the fate of evolution, I would most specifically get rid of large language models as in widespread use. And I would put more of my faith in the human mind, human consciousness, the human spirit to craft things. We've crafted the pyramids. We crafted the seven wonders of the world. We have developed great art and literature from the Renaissance. We can do things that, in my view, far exceeds AI in all of its forms, expert systems, convolutional networks, neural networks, and large language models with transformers. So, yes, it's nice, it's convenient. And since it's here, let's use it. But if I had the choice to remove it altogether and emphasize the classics, the quadrivium, the trivium, Aristotle and Socrates' points of view on how knowledge and intellection is developed, I would put all of my eggs in that basket.
All right. Wow. Okay. Mine is probably hybrid of both. I would not want to get rid of it, but I would like to see it be controlled a little bit better, right? Like the use cases would be have it locked down for strictly certain individuals, right, or groups of individuals, right? In for instance, like advancing medicine, advancing quantum mechanic or quantum computing, or what have you, or just anything in physics or anything that we have hit our limitation on, or even even art, or Italian structuring, or what have you. But I think the biggest thing, I would say, I would want it to be something like Jarvis, right? Where it's like it is an assistant. That's what its job is, right? It helps alleviate those friction points, and also does a lot of stuff that we don't want to do, or stuff that's repetitive that we don't need to do. So yeah, it would definitely be in that happy medium. But other than that, thank you guys for coming out. Any last things before we jump off?
I want to make a rant.
Oh shit. Okay, go ahead.
So if we go hybrid, I would love to get rid of LLMs. The issue is everybody thinks AI is LLMs. AI's been around since the late 50s, early 60s. Like reinforcement learning models, fantastic. That's what pushes medical science. It's not an LLM. All right, I'm done.
Well, I'm saying AI, not LLMs. AI. That was the thing. It was like, would you get rid of AI? But I get to your point.
I would get rid of LLMs 100% because I think that is the worst thing that has ever happened to AI.
And that's the major attack vector too, right? The actual LLM and the edge cases. So I mean, like, I totally agree with that. But thank you for bringing that up, because I think a lot of people might not be able to differentiate or even understand that the difference between the two. So
and the reason why I took the position I did is not because of the common standpoint of, okay, we only need humans to do things. But when I look at LLMs, I see a lot of waste in time, waste in opportunities. You're going down so many rabbit holes that you don't actually get to where you need to. Where are our true advancements since the LLMs have come out, like real tech advancements that have propelled us forward? And I'm not seeing it, and I'm not seeing it on the horizon either. So I don't want the waste, and I don't want the loss of opportunity to actually build things that are good quality and that are fundamental.
And all of the actual environmental damage that's happening because of specifically LLMs. It's insane. Oh, you're muted again.
Nah, I was just. There was a reason I was muted. I was saying, yeah. Anyways, other than that, we're good. Everybody's good.
Yeah, I'm done ranting.
Hey, you said you wanted to go on a rant, so I just thought that I would ask because I didn't want to cut you off. All right, you guys. Thanks everybody for coming out. We'll see you next. Well, we might see you next week, might not. But either way, we'll pick it back up after the next. If not, I'll see you guys then. See you guys.
Woo!
Oh,
All
you
right.
left it recording.
Oh, here we go.
See if you can do a handoff.
Oh, he's going to be doing some editing for